They never called me Dad. Not once. Not in jest, not by accident. Just Michael. Always Michael. A name that sounded more like a neighbor than the man who paid the car insurance. Tyler was 17 when it finally broke me. Jenna was 14, caught in that halfway place between childhood softness and teenage cruelty. I had met them when they were 9 and 6. All scraped knees and bedtime tantrums. Back when Emily had first brought me into their lives like some imported furniture. A new addition. Useful. Unwanted. I didn't expect them to love me overnight. I knew what I was signing up for. Emily had warned me early on. They're protective. Especially Tyler. Just give them time. So I gave them time. I gave them 5 years. I gave them rides to school, groceries, my weekends, my evenings, my patience, my wallet. I gave them everything I had except my name, because they didn't want it. Because their father still came around twice a month, sometimes less, always with some shiny new thing to prove he was still in the picture. He wasn't. Not really. He was a phantom. But that phantom carried more weight than I ever did. The house had rules. Some mine, most Emily's. But when I tried to enforce them, when I reminded Tyler to take out the trash or told Jenna to clean up her art supplies from the dining table, I got silence. Or worse, laughter. They'd look at each other, roll their eyes, mutter just loud enough for me to hear. Michael's on a power trip again. It was like being a ghost in your own house. I was allowed to pay, to repair, to rescue, but not to parent. My voice didn't matter unless it passed through Emily's mouth. And most days she let it pass. She didn't want conflict. She wanted peace. Even if that peace cost me my dignity. I remember a birthday party, Jenna's 12th. Emily had planned it, but I had paid for it. The cake, the decorations, the goodie bags for the friends she barely talked to. I picked up the cupcakes on the way back from a long day at work. The frosting melted in the car. I apologized for it. Jenna didn't even look at me. She ran to her mother, whispered something with a disgusted look. Later, Emily laughed and said, "She just said you picked the wrong flavor. Don't take it personally." But I did. I always did. Every year it chipped away. Every holiday where I gave and got nothing. Every morning I woke up early to shovel the driveway so Tyler could get to practice and never once got a thank you. Every dollar I spent on school trips, phone upgrades, birthday gifts for their friends. All of it evaporated into a silence that never seemed to recognize where the support came from. And Emily, she said all the right things at first. They'll come around. It's not easy for them. You're doing great. But somewhere along the way, her support turned to indifference. She stopped correcting them when they ignored me. She stopped telling them to show respect. It became easier to keep the peace than to stand beside me. And when I brought it up, gently, tiredly, she'd wave it off. They're teenagers. You know how they are. No, I knew how they were with me. It wasn't about being a teenager. It was about being allowed to see me as nothing. The night it broke wasn't special. It wasn't dramatic. I was standing in the kitchen, holding a pizza box, fresh out of the oven, cheese still bubbling. I'd stopped at the place Jenna liked, the one with the crispy pepperoni cups. Emily was upstairs, probably folding laundry or scrolling through her phone in bed. I was alone downstairs, waiting for the kids to come down, reheating slices of my own, waiting to feel part of something. That's when I heard it. Tyler's voice, floating down from upstairs. Muffled but clear enough. He doesn't get to make rules. He's just Mom's sidekick. And Jenna, laughing. In the group chat, they were joking about stepdads. Like, why even listen to them? They're not real parents. Then her voice dropped to a whisper, but I still caught it. I told them Michael's basically just our wallet. They both laughed. And I stood there, still, silent, the pizza in my hands growing heavier with every second. I didn't move. I didn't blink. Something inside me, some final thread, snapped. Not loud, not fast, just a clean, precise cut. I wasn't angry. That's what surprised me. I wasn't shaking with rage or boiling with hurt. I was cold, like I had just stepped outside into a blizzard barefoot. Numb, empty, because I realized, in that moment, what I had always refused to admit. They didn't see me. They saw what I did. They saw what I paid for. But they didn't see me. They saw convenience, support, background noise. They didn't see the man who fixed the heater in January, or stayed up with Jenna when she had the flu and her mother fell asleep on the couch, or spent 3 weekends helping Tyler rebuild his resume, only to be told thanks without eye contact. They didn't see the mornings I skipped breakfast to make sure their field trip forms were signed, the late nights spent comparing phone plans so Jenna could get the one she wanted without it ruining our budget. They didn't see the exhaustion, the compromise, the way I had bent myself to fit into a mold that never wanted to hold me. They didn't see the man. They saw the utility. Just Mom's sidekick. I set the pizza down. Slowly, gently, like I was afraid to wake something that had already died. I didn't go upstairs. I didn't confront them. What would I say? They were speaking the truth as they saw it. I wasn't their father. I never had been. I was just the guy who showed up with groceries, picked them up when their dad forgot to, stayed home when Emily wanted a weekend away. And now, even that truth, the truth I had dressed in patience and generosity, was stripped bare. Not Dad, just Michael, just the sidekick. I didn't say anything that night. Not to Emily, not to them. I let the house breathe its usual easy silence, the kind built on avoidance. I cleaned up the plates they hadn't asked for, wiped down the counter they never noticed, and went to bed next to a woman who'd learned long ago how to ignore the slow death of things. But something had shifted inside me. Not a decision, not yet. Just the seed of one. A dull, iron realization. I couldn't keep giving myself to people who measured my worth in groceries and rides. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table before sunrise, not because I had somewhere to be, but because I wanted the silence to hear myself think. My laptop was open. My budget spreadsheet stared back at me like a confession. I went line by line, every expense, every auto payment, every small charge that built their lives behind the scenes. Tyler's gym membership, Jenna's Adobe subscription, her upgraded iPad with the stylus she lost 3 months ago, Uber passes, streaming services, phone bills, field trip fees, Wi-Fi boosters, replacement earbuds, sports team donations, yearbook orders, concert tickets, app store credits. You name it, every single one came from my card. I scrolled until my fingers ached. Then I opened the account settings. I started canceling. Not everything. Not yet. Not recklessly. Just the extras. The silent luxuries. The unspoken contract had been simple. I provide, they respect. They broke it, so the contract ended. When Emily came downstairs, she kissed me on the cheek, poured herself a coffee, and scrolled through her phone. I waited for her to say something, anything. Some acknowledgement that something had changed, that the air in the house had grown heavier overnight. She said nothing, so I said it for her. I heard them, I said. My voice was flat. No bitterness, no blame, just fact. Last night, Tyler, Jenna, what they think of me. She looked up, eyes slow, like waking from a dream she didn't want to be in. Michael, just save it, I said, not unkindly, just tired. I don't need you to explain it away. She set the coffee down and sighed. They're just kids. You know how teenagers talk. I nodded. Yeah, that's the problem. They're old enough to joke about me behind my back, but not old enough to respect what I do. Emily's eyes narrowed, defensive. They don't hate you. I never said they did. Then what's this about? I closed the laptop. It's about boundaries. Her silence told me everything, because boundaries had always been my responsibility, but her choice. I was the enforcer. She was the diplomat. And when the two clashed, I always stepped back. I let her lead, because I thought unity mattered more than pride. But now I saw what that unity cost me. So I drew a line. No more extras, I said. No more monthly charges for services they assume are free. No more upgrades. No more impulse buys. No more Dad can cover it. Emily blinked. You're punishing them? No, I said. I'm correcting the math. They treat me like I'm invisible, so I'll act like I'm invisible. I'll feed them. I'll keep them safe. That's the bare minimum. That's all I owe them now. She didn't respond. She just looked at me like she didn't recognize who I was. And maybe she didn't. Maybe she had gotten so used to the quiet provider, the soft-spoken man who filled in the blanks, that she forgot I had limits. But I hadn't forgotten. I just hadn't enforced them. Until now. That week, the ripple effects started small. Tyler asked about his Spotify premium. I shrugged. Ask your mom. Jenna wanted a new set of markers. Put it on your Christmas list, I said. Emily got the first text from Tyler's basketball coach. The season fee hadn't gone through. She forwarded it to me. I didn't reply. When she brought it up later, I said simply, his real dad can cover that. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. The next day, Jenna came home upset. Her class trip to the museum was short on chaperones. She wanted me to go. I smiled and said, I'm busy. I wasn't. I just wasn't interested in standing in a place of honor for a child who couldn't look me in the eye. Then came the Wi-Fi. The upgraded router I'd been paying for was returned. The speed dropped. Suddenly YouTube buffered. Tyler stomped down the stairs, holding his phone like it had betrayed him. Why is the Wi-Fi so slow? Budget cuts, I said. He rolled his eyes and muttered something about being cheap. I didn't respond. I was done defending the walls they'd already set fire to. By Friday, the mood in the house had shifted. Not openly hostile, just tense. Suspicious. Like they could feel the scaffolding under their lives starting to tremble. Tyler missed practice. Jenna missed a deadline because she forgot to print her essay and the home printer was out of ink. Emily texted me during a meeting to ask why her Amazon Prime password didn't work. I ignored it. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I was just done. They had called me a sidekick. So I stepped out of the story. Let them see how the plot moves without me. It was almost 2 weeks before the phone call came. Late Friday night. Rain on the windows. Emily asleep, soft breathing turned toward the wall. I was in the living room half watching a rerun, not really absorbing any of it. Just sitting in the dim light, letting silence settle around me like dust. The phone buzzed once. Then again. I didn't recognize the number at first. Out of town. I let it go to voicemail. Then it buzzed again. This time I answered. Jenna. Her voice was shaking. Too fast. Too quiet. Music and laughter behind her. Far off. Muffled. Like she'd stepped outside. I could hear panic pushing at the edges of her words. Michael. Can you come get me? Please? I didn't ask questions. Didn't hesitate. Just got in the car. She texted the address. A house out past Elk Grove. I knew the area, farmland, bad cell service, too many teenagers with too much freedom. She didn't say what had happened. I didn't ask. It didn't matter. When I pulled up, she was sitting on the curb, knees pulled to her chest, hoodie soaked through. Her makeup had run down both cheeks, and her phone was clutched in her hand like a weapon that had failed her. She looked up, eyes wide, fragile, small. I got out and opened the passenger door. She stood slowly. No words, just walked toward the car like a ghost. Halfway through the drive, she whispered it. I know you said you're not our dad, but you were the only one I trusted would come. I didn't say anything. My hands tightened on the wheel. My chest ached in a place I thought had gone numb. I just nodded once, eyes fixed on the road, pretending the headlights weren't blurring from the wetness in my eyes. She didn't explain. I didn't push. Whatever had happened, it had shaken her. She leaned against the door and closed her eyes. For the first time in years, I saw her not as the girl who mocked me behind my back, but as the child I used to carry inside after she fell asleep in the car. The same girl I had read bedtime stories to while Emily cleaned up downstairs. The same girl who had once drawn me into her sketchbooks. A smiling, crooked cartoon version of myself, before middle school turned her silent. But I couldn't forget what she'd said just 2 weeks earlier, that I was a wallet, a sidekick. So I drove in silence. Let her fall asleep. Let her forget how far things had fallen. The next morning, Emily was already in the kitchen when I came down. She'd clearly heard the car pull in at midnight. I expected questions, anger, something, but she was quiet. She handed me a mug of coffee. sat down across from me. She told me, she said, about the party, about you coming. I nodded. I wasn't in the mood for ceremony. She said, she realized you were the only adult in her life she could count on. I didn't answer. I sipped the coffee, waited for the pivot. Emily reached into a drawer and pulled out a manila folder. Thick. I recognized the printout immediately, the spreadsheet I'd made years ago, where I tracked all our shared finances. The budget, the recurring costs, the breakdown of who paid what. She'd added to it. 3 years. Every receipt. Every transaction. Every monthly expense I'd covered without a word. Tyler's orthodontics. Jenna's therapy. The Wi-Fi bill. Streaming services. Holiday gifts. Car repairs. School fees. Every name on the statement was mine. Every charge tied to them. I showed it to them last night, she said. Her voice was slow, tired, honest. I sat them both down, made them read every page. I raised an eyebrow, and they didn't say anything. Tyler looked pale. Jenna started crying halfway through. I think they finally saw it. Not just the money, the effort, the weight. She paused, took a breath. Then I said this. You don't have to call him Dad. But if you're going to live in this house, eat this food, go to these schools, watch these shows, text your friends on phones he pays for, you will treat Michael with the respect his role deserves. Not as my husband, as the man who's carried this family for years. I sat back, let the words hang there, heavy. Not because they were comforting, but because they should have been said years ago. And if they don't? I asked. She looked away. Then they'll find out what life without him really looks like. There was a long silence. Finally, she met my eyes. I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner. I nodded. Not because I forgave her, but because I had nothing left to fight with. My war had already burned everything to ash. Later that afternoon, I found Tyler in the garage. He was cleaning his car, something I had never once seen him do without being told. He looked up, awkward, like he'd been caught doing something unfamiliar. Hey, he said, just that. I nodded, didn't say anything. He hesitated. The coach said I can still play next season if I get the fee in next week. Another pause. I'll figure it out, he added. I'm looking for a weekend job. I nodded again, still silent. Small steps, not enough, but something. That evening, Jenna left her sketchbook on the coffee table. Not hidden, not zipped into her bag, just left there, open. A half-finished drawing of a car on the side of a wet road. And in the passenger seat, a man. No face, just hands on a steering wheel. Steady, still. No words, no note. But I saw what she was saying. That was the beginning. I didn't wake up the next morning expecting change. People like to believe in turning points, that one conversation can reverse a lifetime of neglect. But families don't pivot. They drift. They stall. They decay slowly, and if anything grows back, it grows like scar tissue. So when I stepped into the kitchen and found Jenna already there, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands, cereal bowl half-eaten in front of her, I didn't say anything. Neither did she. But she didn't leave. She stayed. Sat there, silent as I brewed coffee. I sat down across from her. She picked at her spoon. Finally, thanks for coming that night. I nodded. You didn't have to. Another nod. She looked down. Dad wouldn't have. Her voice cracked on the word. I tried him first. He didn't even text back. I waited. Let her sit in the truth of it. She didn't cry. Just sat there. Eyes red. Face pale. 13 years of disappointment finally registering in her bones. She left her bowl in the sink without being asked. Not cleaned. Not rinsed. But left there like an offering. That was Jenna's first step. Tyler took longer. Always did. He had more pride to burn through. A few days later, I came home to find him in the driveway. Hood up. His car dead again. I parked behind him and didn't say a word. He glanced over, jaw set, hands black with oil. Then, I tried to jump it. Still nothing. I stepped around him, checked the connections. Battery was toast. Leave it, I said. I'll take a look tomorrow. He didn't argue, just nodded, quiet. Like he knew he'd spent years building a wall that wouldn't hold in winter. That night, he knocked on my office door. First time in months. "Hey," he said, hand on the frame like he needed permission. "Do you know anyone who's hiring? For weekends? I want to pay for the tournament fee." I looked up, not surprised, just still. "I can ask around." He nodded again, eyes low. "Thanks." That was all. No apology. No explanations. Just a boy trying to fix what he'd broken. One chore, one shift, one quiet knock at a time. Emily noticed, of course. She didn't say much, maybe afraid words would ruin the fragile thing growing in our walls. But she stood closer to me in the evenings, reached for my hand when she passed me in the hallway, smiled more often, though still with that hesitation of someone who knows she waited too long to speak. We didn't talk about the spreadsheet again, or the conversation she had with the kids. We didn't need to. The echo of it lived in every small gesture. One night I found a post-it on the fridge. Jenna's handwriting. "Got art club today. Can you pick me up?" Not Emily. Not Uber. Me. She hadn't asked me directly since 5th grade. I picked her up. She didn't speak the whole ride, but she left her sketchbook on the seat. Open. A drawing of a house. Ours. Car in the driveway. Someone at the window, me maybe, or just a silhouette. But I knew. She saw me now. And Tyler, he started texting. Small things. A schedule. An update. A photo of his cleaned-up resume. A draft of a job application. No emojis. No thanks. But effort. That was something. The boys on his team started coming around again. I watched them laugh on the lawn, watched Tyler toss a ball across the driveway without sneering at me in passing. Once he said, "Hey, can you help me with this form?" and held out his phone. I filled it out. Quiet. Efficient. He said, "Cool. Appreciate it." That was the first time in 3 years he'd used any word like that. Emily came up beside me that night, watching from the porch as the boys played. "You've changed the rhythm of this house," she said. "It's quieter now." I nodded. Quieter's not always bad. She slipped her hand into mine. "Do you think they really understand now?" "I think they understand enough." Enough for what? For me to stop disappearing. The rebuild wasn't fast. It wasn't full. I didn't start taking over again. I didn't re-enable the payments. I didn't jump back into the role they'd exploited. I kept my distance. They learned to ask. They learned to wait. They learned to hear the word no. And slowly, painfully, they began to shift. Not toward love, but toward recognition. That I had been here all along. That I had never owed them, and yet had given anyway. That presence without respect is a kind of death. That fathers are not defined by blood, but by the weight they carry and how quietly they do it. Jenna left her sketchbook open more often now. Sometimes on the table, sometimes on the stairs. I never commented, but I flipped through the pages when no one was looking. The faces she drew became clearer, more intentional. One day, I found a drawing of a man with tired eyes, standing in a hallway, holding a car key in one hand and a cup of coffee in the other. He looked like me. Tyler stopped rolling his eyes when I walked into the room. He started nodding when I spoke. He started listening when I gave advice. Sometimes he even said thanks. I never asked for more than that. Emily, she asked once if I'd consider putting the payments back on. I said no. "They need to keep earning this," I told her. She didn't argue, because now, she finally understood what they had cost me, what her silence had done, how long I had stood alone in a home I built for others. We still had fights, still had bad days, but something had cracked. Not me, them. And through that fracture, maybe, respect had begun to take root. They still called me Michael, but now they said it like they meant something by it. They said it like I had a place, like I was real, not a sidekick, not a silhouette, a man, presence, a father, maybe not in name, but in everything else.